Despite its entertainment value, the horror genre has frequently found itself bogged down by subpar fare. While any genre can be hit with an unwatchable flop at any moment, horror seems to attract films that never should have been made more than any other field. From cheap remakes to lazy sequels to utterly bizarre original efforts, there's no shortage of stinkers to sniff out. Sometimes trailers can look promising, with viewers taking an interest in what appears to be on offer. The final result, however, leaves those who paid for tickets kicking themselves for buying into the misleading hype. There are other times, though, where it is plain as day long before release that a horror flick is not going to stick the landing. So with that in mind, I'm Ellie for What Culture, and here are 10 horror movie flops that everyone saw coming. Number 10. The Wicker Man. The original Wicker Man is a horror classic, blending a variety of themes and genres together en route to a shockingly grim twist ending. The remake, however, is much better known for being accidentally hilarious. According to lead star Nicolas Cage, the humour was actually intentional due to he and the director accepting the silliness of the remake's script. Like the original, this film follows a police officer investigating the disappearance of a little girl on an island dominated by neo-paganism. The cult in question is female-dominated here, with Christopher Lee's Lord Summerisle being replaced with Ellen Burstyn's Sister Summerisle, for example. In the years since the film's release, 2 scenes from the unrated cut have entered full-on meme status due to their absurdity. In one scene, Cage's character discovers a burned doll, leaving plenty of room for the Academy Award winner's signature brand of bizarre overacting. In another, he is tortured by the cult with bees, leading to Cage, once again, hamming it up to almost unthinkable levels. The film failed to make back its budget at the time and was largely ridiculed before, during, and after its release. Number 9. A Cure for Wellness. Gore Verbinski's oddball horror effort enjoyed some cult-level buzz when its trailers first hit. Exquisitely shot and mysterious, the commercials promised an intriguing chiller. Unfortunately, that was not enough for mainstream audiences, with the sight of a dependably sickly Dane DeHaan stumbling around a swanky retreat for geriatrics not really hitting the mark. As reviews began to creep up, it quickly became clear that the mystery promised in the trailers was not going to live up to its potential either. Quickly stumbling from potential sleeper hits to flop, A Cure for Wellness was horribly let down by a gross-out style more interested in putting viewers off their popcorn than telling them anything exciting. The revelations in the third act of the film proved to be utterly ridiculous, ranging from immortalizing eel drops to Jason Isaacs having the hots for his own daughter. Beyond the narrative disappointment, the film fails to set up any truly innovative scares, with viewers instead being subjected to grim moments such as DeHaan having a tooth drilled and being force-fed live eels. Despite delightful cinematography and an engaging first act, this misfire ultimately led to former blockbuster ace Verbinski heading off to director jail. Failing to make use of its Lovecraftian inspirations, this audacious, eccentric work ultimately proved to be a swing and a miss for all involved. Number 8. Studio 666. Sometimes, musicians show off surprising depth as actors when given the chance. Eminem in 8 Mile and Cher in Moonstruck are prime examples, with the latter even winning an Academy Award for her efforts. Other times, however, disaster strikes, with the likes of Mariah Carey and Taylor Swift stinking the joint out in the infamous flicks Glitter and Cats. Unfortunately for the Foo Fighters, their move into the horror genre was nearer to flop than Top of the Pops. In Studio 666, the group play fictionalized versions of themselves. Struggling with creative block whilst working on a new album, the band move into a haunted mansion. Serving as a comedic horror flick, much of the plot then revolves around them dealing with the haunted, satanic nature of the home they're recording in. For die-hard Foo Fighters fans, this goofy, occult-themed flick can prove to be a lot of fun. For everyone else, however, it's a silly, redundant exercise in self-indulgence, marred by a lack of both viable scares and/or laughs. With extremely juvenile moments and excessive gore, the film tries but ultimately fails to hit a lot of the notes it's aiming for. Beyond modern classics such as Shaun of the Dead, horror comedy has frequently proven to be a hurdle to get the hang of. The two genres effectively cancel each other out if handled poorly, which proved to be the case here. Number 7. Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. After a mere 2 movie appearances, Michael Myers was already a household name in horror cinema. When Halloween 3 was announced, fans were excited to see how Myers would come back from getting shot in both eyes and incinerated in a hospital inferno. Needless to say, they were in for a severe case of disappointment. Season of the Witch was an attempt to restore John Carpenter's vision of an anthology series. Therefore, Michael Myers is on vacation, and a new, far less conventional threat is in town. Opinions on the quality of this Gaelic witchcraft-focused oddity vary, with some praising it for its imaginative storytelling and disturbing ending, while others have dismissed it as too silly to nail the scares. Regardless, the moment viewers realised Michael Myers & Co. weren't back, this film was destined to come undone at the box office. It was 5 long years before producers finally decided to take a gamble on the Halloween franchise again. To the shock of no one, the 1988 follow-up made its intentions very clear with the subtitle The Return of Michael Myers. The Masked Man has remained the focal point of the franchise ever since. Number 6. Black Christmas. The second remake of the 1974 slasher classic took the franchise to new lows at the time of its release. The 2006 remake had done little to suggest there was major interest in the series anymore, ensuring questions of why this 2019 effort was even made began circulating before release. Director Sofia Takal takes the tale in a newer, more modern direction, allowing the story to reflect themes of rape culture, patriarchal oppression, and feminism. While this new take is considerably more innovative than the '06 redo, the film comes sorely lacking in the tension and atmosphere departments. The result is a quick but largely scare-free effort that leaves viewers confused by the unexpectedly supernatural elements of the film's closing stretch. From a black magic-powered bus to Carrie Elwes's increasingly corny showing as a creepy college professor, the film stumbles from one misfire to the next. While surprisingly profitable at the time of its release, Black Christmas was quickly dismissed by critics and audiences alike as an unworthy recipient of the Black Christmas name. Its reputation in the years since has only continued to plummet as an especially poor example of updating an old-school horror effort. Number 5. Hostel Part 3. In 2005, Eli Roth picked up where Saw began and fleshed out a horror subgenre that quickly took off: torture porn. Hostel, the grim tale of doomed hedonistic tourists in Eastern Europe, unsettled critics and audiences alike with its sadism. Roth hit viewers with the far more extreme, more gratuitous Hostel Part 2 in 2007. Due to the sequel's diminishing returns, however, it appeared a trilogy was not to be. Unfortunately, not all sleeping dogs are left to lie. In 2011, a low-budget threequel sans Roth hit the stands. Notice the use of stands rather than theatres here, as Part 3 went straight to DVD. The low budget grounds the film back in the US, far away from the Eastern European landscapes of the first two. While neither of Roth's efforts set the world on fire with their rich character development and cerebral plots, they seem like high art in comparison to their follow-up. The story follows a hangover-like bachelor's party that soon find themselves at a torture festival almost as grim as the torture of sitting through this film. The fact that so many are surprised to hear there's a third Hostel film to this day says it all. Stripped of the world-building, intensity, and appeal, if one can call it that, of Roth's efforts, this ill-advised third part never stood a chance. Number 4. Valentine. Valentine's Day is often a chore for singles, and this film cranks that unfortunate fact up to 11. San Francisco is terrorized by a bloodthirsty slasher sporting a Cupid mask as February 14th draws near. A shameless knockoff of multiple 80s slasher flicks, the film had the unfortunate timing of coming out after the first 3 Scream movies. The original trilogy from Wes Craven soundly dissected and satirized every trope of the slasher genre, making it almost impossible to nail an old-fashioned take on an increasingly cynical modern audience. For Valentine, this is made all the worse by the glaring lack of any suspense or full-on scares. The film lazily hobbles from one lame trope to another, with a twist ending viewers can see coming from 100 miles away. Overall, with wooden performances, an outdated style, and a lack of effective direction, it came as no surprise that this plodding murder fest failed to launch at the box office. Even with popular TV actors at the time David Boreanaz and Katherine Heigl coming on board, this film failed to find a decent-sized audience. Number 3. The Hills Have Eyes Part 2. Wes Craven's original Hills Have Eyes effort is a fascinating look at his innovative early years in the low-budget world of 70s horror cinema. Its sequel, however, is quite the opposite, providing viewers with a dreary look at what happens when a talented director is in dire need of a quick cash grab. Set 8 years after the classic original, the film utilizes a lazy flashback structure, often replaying moments from the first film. At one point, even the family dog gets a flashback moment, making a significant portion of this film serve merely as a recap of its predecessor. The new plot revolves around a motorbike team who are preparing for a race in the desert. When the bus they're taking to the racetrack breaks down in the desert, they find themselves at the mercy of the dreaded villainous cannibals. This time, however, the bad guys are led by the gigantic Reaper, who is revealed to be the brother of the first film's Papa Jupiter lead antagonist. Wes Craven himself disowned the film, and it was quietly kept away from public release for 2 years before finally popping up on TV and video. Between the lazy storytelling, poor effects, and painful lack of innovation, this is one of the lowest creative points of Craven's celebrated career. Number 2. Hellraiser Revelations. Some movies are not made with even remotely artistic intentions. In order to maintain the rights to Clive Barker's sadomasochistic magnum opus, Dimension Pictures needed to be consistent with their releases. In March 2011, due to a desperate hurry to get something out and maintain the rights, Dimensions committed what could be considered a crime against film. The mere 75-minute-long disaster piece that is Revelations felt more like a bad parody than a worthwhile entry into the Cenobites Focus series. In the first obvious sign of trouble, Doug Bradley opted out of appearing in the film. Bradley had played the infamous Pinhead since the original, and it was clear something was up when he backed out. Rather than creepy and imposing, the Pinhead of this film looks cheap and silly due to the low-level makeup and prosthetic work. Without Bradley's instantly recognizable voice work, the character flounders further, coming across as a shell of a ghost of what he had once been. The nonsensical plot follows 2 party boys who run away to Mexico. There, they encounter the Lament configuration, and, well, if you know anything about Hellraiser, you can guess the direction the film takes at that point. Clive Barker himself made abundantly clear at the time he had nothing to do with the film. Barker's outburst was just the cherry on top of the many glaring flaws that promised a bomb before it even dropped. Number 1. Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. The Blair Witch Project was a surprise hit thanks to an innovative marketing campaign and effective use of the handheld camera style of storytelling. Unnerving viewers more by implication than any major effects or set pieces, the film left people with a lot of questions that could only be answered in a follow-up. Book of Shadows aims to expand upon the original, but only succeeds in scuppering everything that made it stand out. The shaky handheld style is ditched in favor of conventional third-person cinema, immediately stripping the film of some of its predecessor's signature appeal. The film hits a few of the story beats from the original, but due to the tension-free filmmaking and rather questionable acting, it comes across as almost a Nickelodeon parody of the story. While the twist ending is surprisingly neat and could have been chilling with a better film before it, Book of Shadows offers little merit. The film was unsurprisingly thrown in the trash by critics and audiences alike, with many criticizing its largely formulaic plot and lack of respect for the original. From the get-go, it was clear this was more of a quick cash grab than a valid, authentic continuation of the story.